Hey y'all, how's it going? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Y'all doing
This
okay?
Quattro Soup is here.
That's about as high energy as I can be today. I just ran through it. Welcome. Hope you're all doing fantastic. We're playing some Monster Rancher 4. If you weren't here on Monday, or I guess Tuesday would be like the day it happened, I got all my copyright claimed. There's this company called Upfront, who for like 10 plus years apparently has just been copyright striking everybody who plays Monster Rancher 4, everybody who plays like some of the Digimon games. Complete like content troll. They're not a real company. They just downloaded the software and then made the claims on the content ID system. And because that is so fucking broken, nobody's done anything about it. So I have put in a ticket with YouTube, and hopefully we can stop them for good. I have reached out through a connection. You know, I'm not like a big YouTuber, but I do know someone who knows somebody who knows somebody. So, you know, maybe we'll get a good word put in. Especially because it's not like, I'm not looking to get my stuff unbanned, right? I already threatened Upfront specifically. And they were like, okay, heard. And they took the ban off. But, you know, it's not right that it's only for me. Did I know I could make the first official Monster Rancher 4 speedrun on the official site? I could also, like, be the first person to, like, speedrun shooting myself in the face. But there's a reason I'm not doing that either. I can make the rules, requirements, and routes, though. or, and I say this with love, I could play a good game instead. Monster Rancher 4 is fine. There's way worse games out there. But I'm not passionate enough about it to do anything about it. Speaking of which, before we get started, I am going to take a look at speedrun.com right now. So, I, until last week, had the world record for Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX 2, the speedrun for it. I routed it all out. And then somebody was like, oh, by the way, I beat your time by like 1 billion minutes, which is sick as hell because I theorized the game could be beaten in roughly the time they did it in. They're about 3 minutes slower than what I assumed, like, if I had a really good run I could do. So that's really sick. I hope they want to keep playing after I take a look at this. But I do have to actually take a look at it at some point to see if it's legit. I should crush them. It would be fun to like start speedrunning it again. Because I beat it, I was the first person to beat it in under an hour. And now it's down to 43 minutes. And I theorized you could beat it in like 40 minutes flat. Because like I made a lot of mistakes. If I were to play again, my goal would be sub 40. I was just a face only a mom could love. You put respect on the mighty, mighty Bosco. He's never had to knock on wood, but he knows someone who has. All right. What do we listen to for soundtrack? He's named after a cheese stick. Makes him pretty lovable. The Bosco sticks. Let me get the Bosco sticks and the cigarettes. Earthbound? It was so funny. I didn't even see Earthbound, and I was thinking in my head. Sea shanty. 10 hours. Oh my god. You know what would go hard though? You guys aren't even gonna know this. Some of you will. Little song in the intro to this, not in the intro, in the menu, makes me think of this game. Not that one. Also, nobody knows what this is, and that's sick. I'm pretty happy you guys can't figure this out yet. Nobody's been like, oh, it's so-and-so. Okay, where are we at with this guy? If you weren't watching the other day, we really only raised power. We raised life, like, quite a bit, actually. He started with, like, 80 life or something. So his life is up, like, almost 50%. We have to change some of this, though. We don't need balance. We need life blade. Life blade, balance, rest, trampoline, rest, sandbag, trampoline. We can do this. That's a lot of life training, but I think that's what I need to win right now. So there's a lot going on in Monster Rancher 4. If you haven't played the game, I will help you out with that, but I'm not going to explain what I'm doing like every time because there's a lot going on. Look at him doing the shake weight. Look at him wave that shit. Oh, no you don't. Oh, maybe you do. Alright, that was a lot of damage. But you're dead. Pretty close fight. Alright, good tournament. Now we get advanced to rank C. I think we got what it takes. You should be working on legs anyway. He's, like, by definition got chicken legs. Now that my gym has, like... It's not 24-hour access. It's open, like, 7 a.m. till 9, basically. It's so close to me, and it's, like, it's so nice for open training now, where I didn't have access to that before, that I can just like go whenever. So I went last night because I knew I wasn't going to be able to stream. Insufficient breeder rank? Do I got to go to an adventure? I guess we got to go on an adventure. Used to live next to 24/7 gym and 24/7 Walmart. Love not ever seeing another single human being and being completely nocturnal. 3 a.m. shopping and working out all alone. That's sick. How's the music volume, by the way? Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? I can hear you, so it's not as loud as YouTube Shorts. What? You don't want to watch a Breaking Bad clip with like Bangarang playing at like 900 decibels in the background to avoid copyright? Is Monster Rancher 4 good? It's different. I think it's a good game, but it's not a good Monster Rancher game, if that makes sense. If you're expecting it to be Monster Rancher-like, it is on the surface only, but there's so many like additional systems and mechanics that are like, you know, they're not inherently bad, but it does distract a lot from like what makes Monster Rancher fun. Ungraceful is the best way to describe this game. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah, let me put it this way. Monster Rancher 4 is like Monster Rancher if you've never played Monster Rancher before. If you have like a very like outside looking in kind of understanding of the games, then you're probably like, what's the difference? It looks like the same game with extra stuff. But if you're like really into Monster Rancher 2, like the way that the scene is into Monster Rancher 2, you'll find stuff to complain about for sure. Gamba. Yeah, you got me. I have no survivability, man. Okay, can I attack? Cool. I think it's tedious to do something relaxing, to some and relaxing and enjoyable to others. I mean, that's Monster Rancher in a nutshell, right? But it's kind of like that exacerbated. Where it seems like decent enough survivability when you start with 99 guts. Yeah, that's true. You can just swing. You need to play 3 hours of Monster Rancher 4 to play 30 minutes of real Monster Rancher. That's true. We played for 4 hours the other day. We spent about an hour just looking at monsters and stuff. So we did about 3 hours of like actual gameplay, and we progressed a year and a bit. Get some Sea Shanty 2 going? No, it's not happening. We have stuff happening in the background. It's just not super loud. Jack in the Cho. Sucks that you couldn't actually play this guy till Evo? Or, he might have been in DS first. Obviously, I'm a fan of Jack in the Cho, though. First 3 songs from a Dragon Force album, I'll cover your 4-hour stream. The whole thing is I'm trying not to get copyright claimed. I should probably not pick the music that copyright claimed the guy who wrote the music. Herman Lee had his like channel taken down for playing Through the Fire and Flames on his own channel. Just so you guys know, like, the whole game's not this easy. I'm, like, really over-leveled for this right now. But I need to do it to, like, progress in the story. It's a thing that's, like, kind of annoying about the game, and, like, why it's not Monster Rancher-like, is that you're railroaded into doing specific things at specific times. Whereas Monster Rancher, like, historically is not that. Monster Rancher historically is, like, you just do what you want, when you want it, and that's it. And this one is like, oh, you want to go to C rank? You got to do 2 hours of story first. You got to see Diaboromon kill a golem. Don't worry about the story. There's like literally nothing happening here. Dude, I did this event for McDonald's, and one of the guys who like was wasn't the franchisee, I don't think, but like I think he was an investor in it or something. I don't know. He was related to the business somehow. But he did this speech, and out of nowhere, at the end of the speech, he's like, everybody always complains about racism today. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's an insane way to like end your like random speech about the charity you're raising money for. And he's like, and I think if you are offended by racism, you are like a coward, basically. And then he's like, because I'm Polish, and Polish people, we've had to deal with it forever. And the guy was like literally 90 years old, and it's like, where is this coming from? Like, nobody like read Grandpa's speech before he started. I love Magic Pendulum, and I love the soundtrack, but it is so quiet and then loud and quiet and then loud. We're gonna change gears in a pretty insane way. Monsters in this game look too much like Pokemon. I gotta disagree. Is there a Pokemon that looks like this guy? Holy moly. Yeah, I mean, Monster Hunter 3 not having the subbreeds is, I think, the more you play the game, not really an issue. Because the way they implemented the regional variants is, like, really, really cool. I understand just at first glance that it's like, I can't mix these two monsters, that kind of sucks. But the designs in the game are, like, pretty solid. Color Pandora is basically Magneton. You know, people are allowed to have their opinions. It was real nice, like I said today, that I had, like, a pretty long discussion with someone on YouTube comments, because the last time we were playing this, I was talking about how, like, video games just historically don't have good writing. And most of the time when someone's like, this game has good writing, it's like, yeah, it's good writing for a video game, but it's not, like, good writing compared to, like, your average book. Or movie. And so we were talking about how, you know, like, I love Final Fantasy IX. I love the story in Final Fantasy IX. I love the gameplay of Final Fantasy IX. But I am fully aware that the story of Final Fantasy IX isn't actually anything special. Like, it's, you know, it's compelling as... It's as compelling as it needs to be to serve the purpose, the greater purpose of making a fun game. But it's not like a masterclass in, like, narrative and, like, writing. It's good. And the game is fantastic, so you combine those two things, and each part elevates the other to become more than the sum of its parts. It's fine. It's good. But I don't think, you know, you couldn't take that story and, like, make a movie out of it and have it, like, be cohesive and interesting. And we were talking about how a lot of video game movies, you know, they don't work at all because the games, like, most games at the absolute best have a narrative that's, like, B-movie level, and that's, like, that's the aspiration, right? But then on top of that, you got stuff like Resident Evil, where, you know, the Resident Evil story is pretty okay. It's not, like, unbelievably, like, fascinating beyond what it is, right? Like, it's not anything particularly special. But in the context of the game it's in, it does such a good job at elevating the already very, very strong gameplay, and it makes the game better. And so, by those standards, you know, the story is pretty good. It's a full package. But as soon as you take away the interactivity and, like, what makes the game good, i.e. the actual gameplay, then, you know, the story doesn't really stand on its own. Like, it's not good enough to stand on its own. And that's not really a diss on the story, because it's not written to be a movie. It's written to, like, help facilitate the gameplay. So when you try to take a game story and you're like, I'm going to make this into a movie, it almost always just sucks. Maybe that's just Paul W.S. Anderson, but... it just sucks because, like, you know, you have to change so much because, you know, what makes it cohesive is the gameplay interspersed in it, right? Borderlands 2 could definitely be an actual movie, so how they flop with it. That's such a funny thing to say. I don't think it could, because, like you said, they tried to make a Borderlands movie and it's fucking terrible. But that's because games are very different from a formatting perspective. Gameplay and narrative are inherently at odds, for sure. Completely agree. Gameplay has its own storytelling language, and the plot is only part of it. And so here's, people agree, people disagree. It doesn't matter one way or another. My point of bringing this up, that looked like the exact same move, by the way. Fantastic animation. Was that someone disagreed with me, and they wrote a paragraph about it, and I wrote a paragraph in response, and, you know, it didn't get heated. It was just, like, interesting. I don't really agree with that. And then, like, back and forth like that. And then it turns out we mostly agreed anyway, but, you know, at first glance it seemed like we disagreed on everything. Story can make a good game great, but the best story in the world cannot take a bad video game and make it good. You can go from the middle to the top, but you can't go from the bottom to the middle. It's not, that'll never happen. Think of all the games you love that are, like, heavy on narrative. Like RPGs, anything that has, like, a compelling story, like a Final Fantasy Tactics, or, you know, Legend of Dragoon. They're fun. Like, even, like, you know, even if they're a little bit more adult in the story, and it's not just, like, hero saves the day, like, young adult fiction level writing. That's kind of what Legend of Dragoon is. But the game's really fun, and the story works for that, and it's okay. The story is serviceable, and it's good enough that it takes a game that's like already pretty solid and makes you want to play the game more. But if the gameplay sucked, you'd be like, alright, it's Hero's Journey. Like, what else is there to say? Think of every game you've ever played where like narrative is the focus. Is it better than Super Monkey Ball? That's all I'm saying. Games don't need the story. Some games obviously need a story to facilitate the rest of it, but they're built with that in mind. It's not like, oh, I built an RPG, I forgot to make the story, oh no! Oh no! It's like, it's obviously like part of the process, right? Or it could be like, I have a good story, but I think a game would help, like, you know, get the point across a little bit better. And that's fine too. But the gameplay needs to be front and center, or else you get fucking Beyond Two Souls. Where the gameplay's so fucking bad that it becomes like a self-parody. Pure world building is more important than story to me. I think that's like where it gets muddy, right? When you have something like the Elder Scrolls, where like the story itself, I don't think the writing in Skyrim is very good, especially considering how much they like put into the story of it, right? Considering how much effort was put in, I think it's pretty lackluster. Everything that's not like part of the main narrative is like 11 out of 10 though. All the like little books you can find, all the environmental storytelling of like random NPCs who have like going on in their day, all that stuff makes the world feel very cohesive. And I know people love to talk on Skyrim now because, you know, the combat was kind of crappy, and familiarity breeds contempt, right? So people are like sick of the game. Todd, stop putting your Skyrim in my new console type. Like, the story's not that good. It's like, okay, you're a dragon man, you can talk to dragons, and I'm being glib to prove a point, but not much else happens. There's like, the world's dumbest war is also happening, and they try real hard to be like, there's no good guys in war. These guys are racist, but these guys are, you know, it's the bougies versus the racists. Like, which side are you gonna pick? Oh, you have to pick a bad side. It's like, that's like a story written by like a libertarian 14-year-old. Like, isn't it crazy how everything's actually really f***ed up in politics? It's really interesting because I saw someone like make almost the exact same point that I was making on stream on Monday when we were talking about it, except they were like, he was like, I consider games art, but like think of like what makes a game a masterpiece, and it's like in Super Mario Bros. Instead of, it's not Disco Elysium. And like, I think Disco Elysium is like definitely in contention for like one of the better narrative-driven video games that has ever existed. I think, you know, I can understand why you wouldn't like it, but it's there. It's pretty good. But he's right. Like, it's glib, but like, I agree. Racist versus fascist, go get him. I'm 11 and this is Steve. That's kind of what this story is. Like, it's stupid when you think about it. Also, we got a boss fight. But it's just like, does the bad story make the game worse? I don't think people really talk about the game in terms of like, it's bad because the story's bad, or it's good because the story's good, right? They talk about Skyrim and they don't like it because they think the combat's deep, or they do like it because it was really fun to ride a horse up a mountain. And that's the crux of it, right? Either you like the actual pressing of buttons, or you don't like the pressing of buttons, and then reading the words is completely auxiliary. I'm a simp for ludonarrative games that are really secretly litmus therapy for the player. Oh, you mean like Monster Rancher? Alright, we gotta fight King then. We're gonna beat your ass. Oh no, he blocked it. I'm gonna lose now. Bird combo. He's gonna hit me with the bird combo. 48 guts? I don't think so. Bird combo plus? Do I survive this? I do not survive this. I should have saved. What's really funny is I would have one-shot him if I was to attack him too. So it was just who hit first, and I lost. It's funny though, because like I had like I said, I had a pretty good conversation with someone about it, but there's also people who are like, no, games need to have stories to be good, and it's, you never heard of a fucking fighting game? Like, a game doesn't need a story to be good. You need a story for basketball to be good. Every old Monster Hunter has like minimal story. Monster Hunter is pretty story dense. It's just that the story is A monster is terrorizing this area. We got to do something about it. Oh no, that wasn't the monster terrorizing it. There's a bigger monster that we didn't know about, which is literally every Monster Hunter story. And then they turned it into a movie. Thank you, Paul W.S. Anderson. Just like I'm saying. There's not enough meat on those bones to make it happen. Can I? Oh my god, he's got Nirvana. Nirvana's like ease. Except if I hit him, nothing happens. It's not like extra boost. Watch me stutter step my way in. I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. You can't see me. Oh, what's this? I tricked him. He didn't see it coming at all. Okay, relax, dude. Come on. All this for like 2 experience? S accuracy, by the way. Okay, we got him. Thank you. There's an interview with the director of the movie where he was like inspired by the 2010 Metal Gear crossover and thought machine gun soldiers versus dinosaurs is cool. Dino Crisis is right there. They don't play games. Paul W.S. That was Paul W.S. Anderson, right? Or was it just Mila Jovovich? That's the dream, though, right? He's like Adam Sandler, but the wife guy version of Adam Sandler, where he's just like, I'm gonna make movies specifically so I can see my beautiful wife in hot costumes, basically. I'm gonna keep my wife employed. Most recent Mario movie was serviceable. Pretty good for like a kid's movie, or like pretty good movie. Because those are not the same thing. Because I went to see it, and the entire time I was there, I was like, my like little cousins would go crazy for this. And they'd be right to do so. But it's like, you know, Toy Story is a kid's movie that is a masterpiece, right? Succeeding at being a kid's movie is like Troll in Central Park succeeded at being a kid's movie, and that's like maybe like top 10 worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Don Bluth spinning in his grave to hear it, but god damn. Troll in Central Park is a movie I watched a million times as a kid, and I tried to show it to my wife when we like first started dating. And I was like, I love this movie as a kid. And we got like 15 minutes into the movie, and for the entire first 15 minutes, the 2 kids that the story is based on have been crying. Literally for the first 15 minutes. Everything that happens just makes them cry. And it's like, okay, not a big deal. But then it continues. And it's like 45 minutes into the movie, like halfway over before like there's any kind of like development. Don Bluth isn't even dead yet. He's still spinning in his grave. How did the fucking guy who made Secret of Nim make Troll in Central Park, man? I thought he did We're Back. And it blew my mind to find out that it wasn't him. We're Back is a movie starring John Goodman. He plays a T-Rex, basically comes back to life and is given brain juice that makes him smart, him and all his dinosaur friends. It's not a Don Bluth movie, and I thought my entire life that it was. That movie has maybe the worst sound mixing ever. Like, it's kind of unbelievable how, like, charming of a movie it is, and just on a technical level, like, the animation's very good, but the sound is so bad that there's times where you can't tell what they're saying, man. Like, there's, like, entire scenes where it's just, like, mumbling with music that's, like, 30 decibels too loud. It sounds like a fucking YouTube short where they're trying to, like, stop copyright infringement. It's like, John Goodman, what are you saying? I'm sure you're doing a great job, brother, but I have no idea what's going on. I really liked Land Before Time. I watched it a million times. Great movie. And then I watched number 2, and I was like, I like this too because it's Land Before Time. And I had this like idea in my head that the first one was good, so that meant all the other movies were going to be good. And then I remember watching like 6 or something and being like, this shit's a musical? Like, wasn't the first one a musical? Not to the same extent. And then there was like 40 more after that. It felt a lot like Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars. Yeah, Land Before Time was another movie I used to rent on VHS as a kid all the time. Rescuers Down Under. Used to always rent Rescuers Down Under. I didn't even know it was a sequel until I was like maybe like 10 years old, and then I saw it on a Sunday night on The Wonderful World of Disney. If you guys remember The Wonderful World of Disney, that would play every Sunday night at 6 p.m. 5 on American television. That's another one. I watched Philo Goes West a billion times, and I did not know it was a sequel. Don't kill me. I will survive this. Okay, that was nothing. We're chilling. We're bing chilling. Let's get up close. Hit me with the stick. Oh, he wants the bird combo? We're gonna get out of there. Look at that. One shot. Told you. We're going to the American Tail Park at Universal Studios as a kid, and even then I thought it was weird the Philo Goes West area was a water park for some reason. The entire point of it is that they're like in the middle of a drought in the desert. This girl looks so bored. So it's a story beat. We've been skipping through it, but there was like a spooky rock in the cave that was making her sleepy. We're gonna beat their ass. We just beat up a big owl. Hope you you got your affairs in order, estate. Okay. I'm really not dodging anything, huh? Don't matter though. Like the lore behind Palpatine returning in a limited time Fortnite event. I didn't get into an argument, but I saw two people get into an argument about it on Twitter. One Must Fall, because One Must Fall was published by Epic Mega Games when they were still called Epic Mega Games back in like the Jazz Jackrabbit days. Before Cliffy B went on to be, you know, the guy everyone knows him as, and then before he sold the company to Tencent and they made Fortnite and all that. So in Fortnite, there's a One Must Fall 2097 poster on the wall, and I saw two people arguing on Twitter about it because one person's like, oh my god, Transformers are going to be in the game, and the other guy's like, no, this is actually like a poster from an old game that Epic was producer for called One Must Fall. It came out in like the early 90s. They're like, no, this is Transformers, you're an idiot. And the guy's like, okay, whatever. Here's the actual poster though. And it's like, you can see it's like obviously one-to-one, like it's the poster from the game. And they're like, well, how the f was I supposed to know that? It's like, why are you mad? Like the other person wasn't even like being mean. They're just like, no, like, you know, here's some lore, what's happening. And then Transformers got announced in the game very soon after. And I'm like, I'm gonna go check on that discussion to see what's up with that. And the first person was like, see, I told you, it's Transformers. It's like, dude, they just posted the full res poster that says it's One Must Fall 2097. I'm like, oh man, Twitter's great. By great, I mean, like, actually hell. People just hate being wrong. But like, have a little bit of self-awareness, right? The classic Twitter double down. It's so crazy though to be like, hey, not an argument. This is what it is. Here is proof. Not a big deal. And then for them to be like, you're stupid for thinking I would know that. And it's like, I didn't think you would know that. That's why I gave you the info. And then the thing that like you made up in your head happened anyway by happenstance, and you're like, poster's wrong. It's like, okay. Sure, man.